Hello, my name is Carmela Velarde. I'm one of the 5 council members of the Million Mom Movement, and we're here today for our Lunch and Learn series. And I'm very excited about this topic. My co-council member, Taz Ferreira, she's going to be co-hosting with me. I'm going to introduce her for her segment. But let's just quickly talk about who we are, why you've landed with us. Someone has invited you to our Million Mom Movement community, and we are a mission. We're a movement, we're a mission, we're the activism arm. We are caregivers, moms, dads, aunts, and uncles, deeply concerned about the toxicities that exist in our environment, in our food, in our water, and we are here to take a stand, to educate you with this portal. And we've got wonderful topics coming up for these Lunch and Learns that we host monthly. So please stay tuned onto our YouTube channel. I'm really excited to be a part of the company that is called Purium. It's an organic superfood manufacturing company, and they take a stand with us. And we are definitely here to educate and bring to light areas of topics that aren't commonly addressed. And we'd like to go deeper into the topic today of autoimmunity and how nutrition plays a relevant role. And so I have personally a story that I'll share a little bit later, but I was very called together with Taz because we both have had our autoimmune condition issues, and that's why we're speaking to it today. But in a container like this community, we know that we honor testimonials. We are definitely not doctors here. I'm not per se. I am a holistic health counselor. I have been for 20 years. I've owned a wellness center with my mom in Manhattan for 7 years and have had a practice working with the mind, body, spirit model and natural methodologies to heal the body naturally. But we do not claim to cure or heal. What we are here to do is to bring light to this topic and to share testimonials. And for those who do share, it's a very vulnerable space emotionally. They've been going through a lot physically, and it's been a long journey for them. So we honor this space, and it's really a place where we can come together and really heal through it, right? It's really through us sharing. So with that said, I do have some slides just specifically to introduce the topic of autoimmunity. Hold on a moment. And are you able to see this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Tess. So let's just start. For those of you who might be questioning the actual disease itself, let's define it a little bit more clearly for you, because our immune system can be very vague. We have a lot of concepts blowing around right now in our communities, but our systems are made up of organs and cells that are meant to protect our bodies, right? We have God-given defenders inside our systems, but autoimmunity involves autoantibodies. And these are immune system marks that make organisms actually go against ourselves. So our bodies actually are attacking cells. And there are over, 80 to 100 known autoimmune diseases, and there are millions of people suffering. So this is something that is really dear to our community, because we have experienced a lot of people coming from Western treatments, and they have been looking for something natural. So we're here to share some solutions. But autoimmune diseases really can affect all types of tissues and any organ of the body. And this is why it's important to kind of understand under a microscope the actual issue itself. And the most common of the almost 100 are rheumatoid arthritis, where now we're talking about how our own body's cells are attacking itself. So this is where the lining of the bones are attacking itself. Hashimoto's, this thyroid, it's underactive thyroid. Graves' disease is overactive thyroid. Celiac is when the body's actually, the response against the protein gluten is emphasized and inflamed. Diabetes mellitus is actually type 1 diabetes. Very common, where the cells attack the pancreas that produces insulin. And vitiligo, you'll see people who have Skin, discoloration. Psoriasis is another skin condition where the body attacks itself. It's very, very common. People may not even know that it is an autoimmune. Crohn's, which is irritable bowel disease. Crohn's is a very common one as well, which is a digestive autoimmune. Systemic lupus. This is very commonly diagnosed, I would say, too. Multiple sclerosis is the myelin sheath in the nervous system is being attacked. So that's just a little bit of the most common ones that are being presented in the United States. And I just wanted to bring up this list because some of you may wonder, well, what areas of the body does it affect? Where are we presenting it in the body? And maybe you have it. Maybe you have some of these issues and maybe you've been diagnosed some of these. So the joints and the muscles. So you get the psoriatic with the psoriasis plus the arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, RA. And then you look into the digestive tract, diseases of the endocrine system as well, the skin, the nervous system. So I'm sure someone knows someone who has this. So I have a slide specific to, here we go. Symptoms. Now, what are some symptoms that you might have if you have an autoimmune condition? And maybe you're living with them and not really even aware that it is. And so the diseases of the joints, the muscles are muscle aches and pains, joint pain, the weakness, inflammation. A lot of people in our Purium community come to do organic superfood cleanses because of the digestive issues and they want to cleanse their digestive tract or their gut microbiome. The skin presents in a very interesting way. I have a very intimate story with this because I've gone through 20, 30, 40 years of dermatology issues and they never can pinpoint what is the cause and have a lot of other treatments. Now the nervous system, a lot of people don't even associate this with an autoimmune condition. And migraines, right? Insomnia, blurry vision, difficulty of thinking. And you can tell just what it is that a medical doctor in the Western field might prescribe us if they have these symptoms. So other diseases, diseases, meaning disharmonies in the body, are fatigue, pain, fever, chest pain, weight gain or loss, rapid irregular heartbeat, shortness of breath, temperature sensitivities. So our bodies are meant to actually self-regulate. And these symptoms are alarms, just little signals of our body telling us that there's something going on where it's not able to self-regulate. So just to be aware of that. Now, I can't talk about autoimmunity without even mentioning the immune system, because a lot of us are questioning, is it inherent? Is it something that my parents had handed down to me? Or is it acquired, where it involves creating antibodies, which our body makes by B lymphocyte cells to defend itself? Now, that's where vaccinations have come in, right? That science of it, where it's supposed to turn on our bodies so that it prevents. So you could see sort of how medicine has evolved over time and how really when we're innately born with an immune system, that might be weakened. I believe very much, and we're going to talk about this, Taz, more in detail, about how lifestyle really plays a huge role, because those conditioning factors can really make a big difference. And now, where is the immune system? Let's talk about that. Well, we have these specific areas in the organs in the body where they're the adenoids, where there are two glands located in the back of the nasal passage. And that's why breath work is so key as a component to be able to self-regulate and to support your immune system. Bone marrow, the spongy tissue in the bone cavities. Another thing to nutritionally connect with minerals and deficiency syndromes and things like this. And throughout this whole, educational event, we are talking about how nutrition plays a role. So the lymph nodes, small organs shaped like beans on the side of the neck, right? And you could tell when you have children, if they have swollen glands here, lymph nodes, they typically have some sort of infection in the body, maybe a fever, and their body's fighting it off. And if there's some swelling involved, But there are lymphatics all over the body, especially in the joint structures where you are able to lymphatically drain. That's actually one of my specialties in my practice is lymphatic drainage. The lymphatic vessels are channels all over our body. So we are meant to be a real self-healing animal. We are meant to really turn our bodies on to use this system, and how to really use it naturally and to increase its strength is to understand it, which is why I'm mentioning it today. Then the lymphoid tissues in the small intestine. Now we go into a lot about gut health here because the small intestine breaks down the nutrients and it makes it absorb into energy, and it distributes nutrients. So these patches are actually very important because if we're not absorbing correctly, then of course our immune system isn't able to defend itself. The spleen, many people may not understand that the spleen is an organ, what it does, but the stomach and spleen is a yin and yang pairing, and it's a fist size. It's not large. The stomach is large, it's the yang, but the spleen actually helps you with memory. There's something called a pneumogastric nerve, and it's the gut-heart-brain connection. And I deal with this a lot because of my background in psychology and then also working with nutrition. I always see how people's mental clarity improves greatly when we're able to really focus on what the spleen, when we do cleanse it, what it can do for memory and clarity. The thymus, there are two lobes that join in the front of the windpipe in the trachea. Now, if anyone has had, I don't know, any kind of specific health concern where you feel the tightness right here, it's often that the lymphatic drainage, the thymus, the windpipe, the trachea behind the breastbone, it can be more open. Maybe it's inflamed. It's very common actually. And with children, when they have colds or fever or flu, what do? We rub maybe Vicks on their chests and we open it up. But it is actually a key component to actually supporting children when they go through their own immune dips. And then the tonsils, right? So the tonsils, we know that they are hanging, the oval masses in the back of the throat. Sometimes people get them completely removed, which actually is not ideal, but they actually protect us as well from bacteria, anything. I mean, think about it. Our mouth is the direct opening to the world around us, and we're always talking, breathing in. So what we do breathe in, including viruses and things in the environment like mold, toxicity, chemicals in paint, chemicals and toxins all over in our environment. We have to think about then, our tonsils are there to help us. And when they're inflamed and large, it's an indicator. Now, a lot of us who have had autoimmune diagnoses, we take it with a grain of salt because we are also questioning, well, the tests are clear, but to understand it is to then often be prescribed a medication. And that can be quite scary. So especially when they're just a list of symptoms that you fall within. Now, what is ideal is you find, and I'm going to interview a wonderful woman and dear friend and client of mine who has gone through quite a story about her own personal diagnosis with her doctors, and it has really helped her. So you do want to bring a detailed list of symptoms, understand your family health history. Some people may not even know that. And then you can take tests. So these antinuclear antibody tests, complete blood count tests, CBC tests, the ESR, sediment rate tests. I've had, a lot of different allergen tests as well. They can all be good indicators for you to then create a team of people who you can work together with to start a treatment plan. And so there are specific blood markers that may prove that you have an autoimmune disease. So if you do feel that those symptoms speak to you, then I would go ahead and look to possibly an endocrinologist, a rheumatologist, a dermatologist. There's different Western medical doctors who you could go to for these tests. Now, I'm going to share just this list of Western medicine treatments because many of you may have already experienced going through or having these treatments yourself. I have, and when I read this list, I was quite shocked that I had actually gone through 40 years of experiencing a lot of these. Not the insulin injections per se, but painkillers, anti-inflammatories, topical and internal, medications for depression and anxiety, the insulin injections, sleeping medications, plasma exchanges, corticosteroids, rash creams and pills, intravenous immune globulin, drugs that suppress and subdue your immune system. Well, that I've had, and it was just a Band-Aid. Many of these are, to me, I've experienced have been just a Band-Aid. And unfortunately, but fortunately, we have to go through our journey. We have to understand that, you know, the medicine wheel that we are in supports us only so far. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Taz Ferreira, and she is going to go through a little bit about our own prevention methods that we as practitioners believe in, and our food philosophy, our health and wellness philosophies.
I love that. Thank you so much, Carm. Okay, are we gonna leave this? Okay, I'm back. Okay, so hi guys. So I'm Taz Ferreira. So I'm a functional medicine doctor, and my background is actually in genetics. So I'm not going to get so sciencey when I'm going to be speaking now. I'm going to try to break it down for you so you understand, right? All of these things, I love how Carm explained it, what to look for. If this is something that's going through your body, now you've identified it, right? But what's the solution? So myself, I've gone through so many autoimmune diseases, and I say diseases because it doesn't come solo. It comes with so many cascading effects, right? Your allergies goes up, you have eczema, it's a whole array of things that happens. So genetic disposition, right? Gut permeability and environmental toxins. I love how Carm was talking at the beginning about like MS. MS is not a disease of the brain, right? And Hashimoto is not a disease of the thyroid. And rheumatoid arthritis is not a disease of the joints. This is the disease of the body attacking its immunity. You guys agree with me? If you agree with me, put a heart in the chat, right? It's your immunity. Our bodies are fighting itself. This is what autoimmune disease means. So what do? When we hear immunity, what are we looking at right away? What are we thinking that we need to look at? Any ideas? Well, when I hear that, I hear we need to be doing things to help support our bodies. So when I got diagnosed with all of my issues, that made me the ultimate label reader. I had to start learning how to read everything. I had to start, first of all, cut gluten completely. I cut gluten completely from my life, not just because gluten is full of glyphosate toxicity and environmental toxicity, but because it releases a protein that causes more inflammation in our microbiome, okay? So no to gluten, and cut dairy. Dairy is full of hormones. We don't need this in our life. And I'm not talking about once in a while, I'm talking about a non-negotiable. Cut it completely. And you know what also I've noticed? A lot of people who've been diagnosed with autoimmune diseases, they're very sensitive to grains. I know you're thinking, but why would grains be a problem? But because of cross-contamination, right? So it does affect. So just start picturing this. You remember how I was talking about the Hashimoto's with the thyroid and all of these things? When we are looking at the thyroid and the myelin sheaths, look at these things as the victim, right? We need to address, I'm going to put it this way, we have to address the criminal. Who is the criminal in this? It's the inflammation in our bodies. We need to address where this is coming from. And a lot of times this happens years before that we don't even think of. Were you on birth control when you were very young? Those birth control has a huge long-term effect that follows you through your adulthood that you don't even think. You might not have a genetic disposition to autoimmune disease, but you know what you do have? You have a disposition to low vitamin D. And that low vitamin D causes your autoimmune disease because now you don't have enough of your immunity to fight off all of the pathogens, everything that's coming to you. So picture, every day we are being exposed to so many toxins, right? Of course, we're going to be talking about what we put into our mouths because that's so important. But let's look at what we put on our skin. Our skin is like the ultimate mouth. Just look at it like that. So we slather creams, body wash, all of these things, and this goes into our digestive system. But you know what? That makes it even worse because it's not even going through your kidneys. It's not being processed. This is going directly to your gut lining. So I always say, if you cannot eat what you put on your skin, do not put on your skin. You have to become aware of everything in your environment, everything that you do, you know, from the body wash to cream you use to detergents, material, everything, right? Because these are all environmental toxins, right? Okay, so we're talking about that. And okay, I have so much to talk about. So how can we put ourselves in an environment where we thrive? I was talking about vitamin D, right? When our immunity needs to be heightened, we need to increase vitamin D. But vitamin D, does not work alone. We need to pair it with other vitamins. So don't just go run off to your grocery store and start loading up on vitamin D, okay? Because the sourcing matters. And what happens when you have too much vitamin D in your body? Does anyone know what happens? Do we have any idea? Can I see anything in the chat? So it acts as an immune suppressant. We do not want a lot, exactly, toxic overload. We do not want a high amount of vitamin D in our bodies. It needs to be in perfect balance. You know how the body works with homeostasis? So this is the balance of our body. So it's the same thing. It's not more is better. More is not always better. We need it to be in the right source. And the right source is food source. So my favorite thing to incorporate is zincate. So zincate is perfectly paired with vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc, which we need all together. And with D, vitamin D, what's the other vitamin? Then once that goes up, what does it need to be paired with? Does anyone know? It needs C, okay, I like that. But what it needs to be paired with is magnesium. Because our bodies are needed of trace minerals. You know what I've noticed so many times whenever you're diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, everyone tells me, but now I'm allergic to everything. Everything I eat, I'm allergic to it. I've developed so many allergies I didn't even know I had. But you know what? You always had them. So let me just tell you, when you're diagnosed with your first autoimmune disease, a secondary autoimmune disease usually happens within 5 years of the first one. Do you know that? If you guys knew that, drop me a thumbs up. The second one within 5 years. So we need to get that in its tracks before the second one happens. This is why when I was telling you I had so many autoimmune diseases, one thing leads to the other. And if you don't even recognize it as being an autoimmune disease, because I know we were never trained to recognize it, you just suppress everything until they give you immunosuppressants. They give you all of these medications that actually makes everything worse. Maybe at the beginning it could be good, but it's not helping anything long-term, right? So zincate, ionic elements, because we need those trace minerals. And what else? Oh, of course, how did I forget? Gut permeability. Okay, so everything comes back to gut permeability. The whole issue with our autoimmune diseases is because our gut is being compromised. That's the part where it's filtering out what's allowed to go in and what's not allowed to go in. Okay, it's like small little cell walls. And what I love about our gut repair, Biomedic, it repairs up to 30% of our gut permeability. okay? And what happens when we're going through an autoimmune disease is that we are overloading our bodies with so much toxins that it comes to a point when it doesn't recognize what's good or bad anymore. So just picture this, your gut lining is looking up, and let's say you put a cream on your body full of artificial ingredients, right? Colorings, dyes, all of these things. It's coming into your microbiome and it sees that and it's like, Tony, is this our meal? Do we eat this? What is this? We don't know, right? They're not even recognizing it anymore. They're like, well, maybe it's food. Let's eat it. Okay, so this is what happens. It starts not even recognizing, but it's not its fault. The body is a brilliant machine, but when it's so full of heavy toxins, which is an accumulation of years, that it doesn't even know what to recognize anymore. Instead of working at, thriving, it's working at fight or flight. It's absorbing all of the toxin in your body. So what we need to do is put it in its optimal state. So cut sugar, right? All artificial sugars. Artificial sugars add to all the toxins in our bodies. Remember when I was talking about we become the ultimate label readers? This is what I mean, okay? We have to cut artificial ingredients, all unnatural flavors, and it's everywhere. From, the clothes we use, to the perfume we put on our bodies, to the food we eat. We need to become real label readers, okay? I have a list, okay. What artificial flowers, artificial flavors, sugars, glyphosate. So always include biomedic into your life, right? So I take this on the daily and cut grains because now you have to repair your microbiome and you have to repair your gut permeability before it's allowed to actually absorb anything. And it's something that I hear all the time, that people would tell me, they're like, yeah, but we're eating so much salad. We're eating so healthy. How come I'm still feeling worse? There's a simple explanation for that. Absorption. It's not what you're eating. It's because your gut doesn't know how to recognize it anymore. You're not getting adequate micronutrients. So we need to start working from this part before we work with anything else. And once we start repairing your microbiome with all the necessary foods, minerals, and ultimate gut repair, then everything changes, right? The whole body is interconnected and everything is a cascading effect. Don't just look at, like I had one question at the beginning of our call, is acne a form of autoimmune disease? Well, not immediate, but of course, it's a cascading effect. The skin is the largest organ. So whatever happens on your skin, this is what's happening in your body, something within, right? So I had eczema, and this is all autoimmune, but you don't realize it until it becomes too late. So birth control, antidepressants, depressants. Okay, so I want to talk about triggers, toxins, allergens. Let's look at it as our body saying, is this stranger? That's a saying, stranger danger? That's what your body is going through each and every day. It's looking, whatever you're putting it in, should I be eating this? Should I not be eating it? It doesn't even know how to recognize things anymore. So we have to put it in the right situation. And that's where epigenetics comes in, right? I hear so many people, they tell me, they're like, we have this biomarker that says that we have this autoimmune disease. No, it does not need to be expressed. We can show you ways to turn off that biomarker through lifestyle choices. If we understood how important lifestyle choices are and what it can do for our everyday life, we would really start adopting these methods, okay? So eat organic foods, okay, as much as possible. Incorporate biomedic each and every day, because even though we're eating organic, you have to think about the overspray. Just because we're eating organic foods doesn't mean we're not subjected to toxins. Just because we're buying those organic spices doesn't mean there's no heavy metals, right? There's so many things that we need to think about. So I just incorporate all of these foods into my life just to ensure my microbiome and my gut permeability, which is my immunity, is in top shape. Okay? Okay, stress. your cortisol levels needs to be low. So I always like saying everything begins in the mind. Okay, you have to have positive thoughts. You cannot think that just because I have an autoimmune disease, oh, I have no hope. My doctors told me there's nothing I can do. You can. You'll always have to think positive because this is sending triggers to our body. This is a biochemical trigger when we think positive. So even doesn't matter what you're going through joint pains, you're going through headaches. I know, I'm sorry, we're here for you. We will show how your body can get into optimal state, but think positive, okay? And stress, do you know that your 95% of your serotonin levels are actually found in your microbiome? So once you start understanding that your stress is actually found in your microbiome, now you're understanding how it works in your brain, right? It's not in your brain, it's in your microbiome. So we need to keep our stress low. Yoga, meditations, breathing exercise, these are all things we need to start adopting into our life as well. And sleep. We must talk about sleep. So a lot of times people tell me, they're like, yes, but I sleep great, Taz. I have no issues with sleeping. And then when I say it's wonderful, how do you wake up? Right? And then they ask me, well, what do you mean? How do I wake up? I'm like, do you wake up with an alarm clock? Do you wake up full of life? And they're like, not really. I'm still kind of exhausted. So you know what? That's a clear indication that you are not sleeping properly. And sleep is so important because when you have the proper amount of sleep, and especially that REM sleep, that REM cycle, this is when your cells repair itself. And that cell repair, this is DNA repair, okay? And this is what helps your inflammation levels. This is what helps your body repair itself. And if you're not having that and you wake up groggy the next morning, that means you are not having REM sleep. This means that the day won't be good. This means your inflammation will go up. As I said from the beginning, it's all a cascading effect. This is why I love that our system is everything's interconnected. The food's interconnected, just like how our body's interconnected. What else? So the food sensitivity, toxic buildup, nutrient deficiency, stress, impaired cortisone, self-rejection, genetic predisposition. And okay, for the testings, I want to add that I would recommend doing a stool test as well, because we need to check our gut dysbiosis. And I would recommend doing a TSH test to check your T4 and T3 levels, because that has a lot to do with your thyroid. So I think, Carm, let's get to our guests, our testimonials.
Thank you for that list of all the prevention. It's so important to understand how Purium is the anti-inflammatory lifestyle. I myself have been diagnosed my whole life up until I found this lifestyle, and it really turned my body on to work as it should naturally. So I want to bring on, well, my path of healing was then to move into health coaching. And I found this community and this wonderful friend and dear client of mine. Her name is Mamie Signer, and she is in Winchester, Wisconsin. And she has a wonderful background herself of holistic healing and health as a yoga teacher, life coach, health coach with the Integrative Institute of Nutrition. But she also had a background in Western medicine where she had done some radiology and EMS work. But she's just a gem. And I'm so excited to have you meet her and hear her story. And really, the focus here is autoimmunity. Well, her list is quite long. She had suffered from Crohn's disease, depression. She was diagnosed. So she was diagnosed Crohn's disease, depression, bipolar, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, chronic pain with pseudo seizures, and migraines. So I want to bring Mame on, and I'd love to ask the first question, Mame. How are you doing today?
Hello, everyone. Carmela, I am doing wonderful. Thank you all. I am so humbled to have this time and this space to share with you. So thank you for welcoming. Everything I'm sharing today is from the heart. So I can get right into my story of, I'm 50 years old, And I was diagnosed in my early 20s with Crohn's disease and had found out that it probably had started when I was 14. And in my 20s, then was the depression, the bipolar, 30s came MS, 40 came the fibromyalgia, the migraines, the chronic pain, the seizures. And through that journey of what started out in my life of nursing and radiology and growing up as like a 70s kid, I only knew the Western medicine. I didn't know about the Eastern medicine. So going through my diagnoses and my journey and getting the advice from my doctors and team building with all that I had known, I had taken a break and left nursing and radiology and really had to reflect and think about myself because I was sick. And that's when I first got introduced to more of the Eastern medicine. And what is this all about? Because a lot of what the doctors were saying, and when they give you a diagnosis, you are not that diagnosis. Never lose your identity. Stay authentic and true to yourself. Don't let them get lost in their world and teachings to whirl you up in that and rob you of that, because you all have the power. And I want you to stay within the power of yourself and not them have anyone, either worlds, lose light of what serves you and what doesn't serve you. So when I listened, because it was roaring symptoms to the point of, I was completely disabled. I had been paralyzed from neck down, and it was one heck of a journey. So when I welcomed more of the Eastern medicine and I collided both of those worlds, then I knew what was more serving me and what was not, to stand up for myself and my beliefs and welcoming the lifestyle that Carmela and that Taz had shared. Because it's not just like what Taz said of what you are putting in and on your body, but it's also the toxicity, like Taz said, about your environment, but also with people. So you got to think of that in the whole holistic of who you are surrounding yourself around. So through this, so speeding that up. So what took me decades to learn, this wonderful organization, Purium, the Million Mom Movement, these beautiful souls that are with us today, can share with you, and you don't have to go through those years and years worth of pain and suffering. I don't want anybody to go through what I had gone through. I am alive today because of both worlds, but ultimately because I said when enough was enough, I followed a path that served me. And what has served me now for 6 years with Purium, and when that came into my life and now into my body, it was a game changer. And my testimony is huge in itself, but it also is huge for Purium, because prior to that, I don't know if any of you have heard the Gerson method, but I was juicing, I was doing organic, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I am very mindful what I put in and on my body and always evolving and learning. But I did not know that this was even possible. So to get the life that you deserve, I'm able to walk again, see again. I'd even gone blind. I was able to go and attain more goals and dreams to become a yoga instructor. And I felt that was so empowering, because a lot of people, I love when they meet me, because I don't look, I'm not MS, I'm not Crohn's, I'm not depression. I'm Mamie, you're getting Mame. But it was hard to fight for this life, but it's so worth it. So I don't want any of you to lose sight of that, because if you want this, you can absolutely have it. The surgeries that I have saved my life. The medications that I have been put on throughout the years gave me more side effects than actually served me. So as we were talking about our immune system, you don't have to be diagnosed with anything. Every single person on this planet has somehow, some ways compromised and suppressed their immune system. So everybody of all ages can benefit from what Purium has to offer and what we have to offer you for a lifestyle. Because when you merge all of these together, you ultimately, you will be the only one stopping you from attaining all of your dreams, all of your goals, because you can have it all. Anything else, you got to get past that excuse because that, unfortunately, and believe me, I have beautiful people in both worlds. So I'm not knocking Eastern and Western medicine at all. I'm alive today because of all of my team members that have welcomed me for my belief system to carry forward in my life. And I have wowed a lot of doctors. And I love that. And I also have told doctors, you can't tell me I'm going to die either, because I've gone back into their office and proved them differently that, hey, here I am walking, talking, and very much so alive. So to get back on the track of that excuse, don't say because I have this or because I have that, you're not going to be able to have this, that, or the other. Do know the power within the superfoods. Do know in the power of the practice of yoga, meditation, acupuncture, massage therapy, physical therapy. There's so many modalities in both worlds that you can welcome to help you to fit all the pieces of the puzzle, because what may have worked for me may not exactly work for you, but at least I can share. This is what I tried and didn't work. This is what, this is what served me. This is what hasn't. And by sharing our stories, we can lock arms together. I can then give hope back into your heart, into your family. Because many of us are trying, whether we have significant others or children's, because sometimes these diagnoses can, really be a burden, and then you start to have guilt. And then if you've got a depression and an anxiety diagnosis, it can kind of aid in that. So you want to get past that excuse pattern. You want to break free from that. Don't fall victim to it. Don't be a victim. Rise above it. And that you please ask for help. Never, ever feel ashamed to ask for help. It is not meant that you need to do this all by yourself. We are all here for you. You can build a team no matter where you live. And you can absolutely do exactly what I did. And every one of those diagnoses that Carmela shared, I stopped them and I reversed them. And I am living a life. I'm 50 years old and I just learned a new sport. I don't know if anybody heard of skate skiing, but I've classic skied, downhill ski. So I'm newbie, but hey, you can teach an old dog new tricks. So I'm now skate skiing. So I'm just having a ball. I'm loving life and I'm loving being able to share. So I hope my story, I'm here for anyone if you would like to personally reach out to me. Carmela, if there's any other questions you'd like to ask.
Yes, actually. So thank you, Mame. Wow, everyone needed to hear that, because the reversal of these diagnoses are so important for us to understand that within this community we can and we have the power to fire our doctors and say, I am going to try other things. I am going to empower myself to learn more from others as well as you. And I'm going to work with a team. So I loved when you told me that you found your team. And I loved when you had told me personally that when you had found that there were disruptors in your environment, that you even moved house and home for that. And those are decisions that you made to survive and thrive. And so, you had been in this community now for how long? I think it was 4 years.
6 years. 2016 was my first package of Purium that arrived. So, but yeah, Carmela, those are the choices and the power that I'm talking about. I moved from the northwest part of Illinois, which was very rural. We called Mayo Clinic, called it pesticide hell. I live in the north woods of Wisconsin. I'm 2 miles from the Michigan border. I am in my glory playing in Mother Nature. She's very, very healing, and I'm living, I took that seriously, and my career. So if you have toxic careers, toxic environments where you live, what's stopping you but you? Move, do it. Do what's right for you and your family. You deserve it. Even if it's that scary of a decision, I'm living proof of it that it serves you best. It does.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing this light. And I know how committed you are to your period products, of course, I see that as your upline.
Yeah.
And wow, I mean, this is talk about how it's your grocery bill as well, please.
Oh, absolutely. As part of like the coaching, and a lot of people, these are not just supplements. These are not just shakes. We really set the bar high in what you are putting in your body, as Taz was talking about with Source. The first company ever, and I work with thousands of companies, that I actually feel safe and have a comfort of knowing no matter what Dave and Amy have available to us is safe. And that is huge. And so this is part of my grocery bill. So when we are setting aside on budgeting and we need to know X amount for this, that, and the other, please include this in your groceries. That power shake that I make, or if I'm making an MVP, no matter what it is far superior than I can go to any grocery store and buy. So if you think about that, it kind of can change your mindset of how you weigh your decision making to be able to buy something and save the money to better serve you. Instead of, you know, if you're going to spend $200 in the grocery store, maybe you can spend $300 with Purium. Carmela knows how much my household spends a month. So it's myself, my husband, and I have 2 furry kiddos. My furry kiddos take Biomedic, Joint Promotion, the Epigenius, the dogs, they take aminos. So we are a full on Purium household here. So.
That you are. And it just speaks to you being so healthy right now after all that you have been through. So thank you so much.
Thank you again, Carmela, Taz, everybody. I so appreciate this time. And I hope that I could have given you some inspiration and some hope for yourself or for anybody else that you know that may be struggling. So maybe this could have made a difference for you. I love you so very much. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. So I'm going to pass the mic now to Taz, and she has a wonderful interview herself of a testimonial. Taz, take it away.
Thank you so much, Carmela. Okay, so you're thinking, how about going plant-based, right? Maybe plant-based is going to help me. Well, you know what? It's not always the ultimate solution. So I have an incredible testimonial, Kevin Luna, who's going to share what he had and how he has found a solution so young. And I'm just so proud of him and happy to have him on. Kevin?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I guess I'll start off with 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. It was called ankylosing spondylitis. And that's kind of a crazy, long, complicated name, but it really kind of acts like rheumatoid arthritis. And it was causing extreme pain and stiffness in my spine. So I was waking up at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning in extreme pain, like as if I threw out my back, as if I got in a car accident. It was like really, really bad. And nothing was working. I was trying to go to the chiropractor, I was trying medicine. And I actually went to the hospital and they said that I was diagnosed with this autoimmune disease. And their only solution, the only option that they had was an injection that I needed to take in my leg or my stomach. And it was called Humira. And that would cost $4,000 a month. And I could not afford that. And I was like, is there any other options? Is there any other solutions? And I was, mind you, not an experienced sick person. I rarely went to the hospital. I used to say I had like an iron stomach where I could eat whatever I wanted, nothing really mattered. And I wasn't gonna get sick. And so being sick and being in the hospital was already nerve-wracking for me as it was. And like just thinking like, I'm so young, 25, like what the heck is going on? So because there was no solutions and because I could not afford $4,000 a month, I actually suffered for 4 more years. It actually got worse. And this particular autoimmune disease, what it does is it attacks the spine and it causes the stiffness and tightness. And if untreated or if not changed, your spine will fuse together. And I've seen videos of people with this disease untreated and their spine is literally fused together where they can't move their entire spine. Everything else works fine in their body. It's like the craziest thing. It's like they can move their arms, but they can't bend or move their spine at all. And so 4 years in, I said, you know what, I gotta do something about this. I went back to the doctor and I had better insurance. They gave me the medication. I started taking the medication, and the purpose of the medication was to weaken your immune system. There's tons of side effects, a bunch of side effects, but the actual purpose was to weaken the immune system. And because I had a weaker immune system, I was more likely to get sick. And I actually got the flu, and I got it so bad that I was sick in bed for 3 weeks straight. I couldn't get out of bed, and it was the sickest I've ever been. I actually contemplated, like, is this it? Like, am I gonna die because of this flu? It was so bad. And I also didn't want to go back to the doctors, partly because I thought, well, they already told me what the option was, and I already knew that this was going to weaken my immune system. So I was kind of conscious of that. I was aware. They even said, I had a tuberculosis test, and they said, if you had tuberculosis and take this medication, it could kill you. It was that serious. So I basically, while I was sick in bed, someone recommended me to watch the documentary, What the Health? And that documentary was the first time in my life that I ever learned about diet and diseases even being related. Before that, I had no idea. I thought it was just all genetic. My parents had it, then I had it. And they also talked about autoimmune diseases in that documentary as well. There was a small part where they talked about how eating plant-based, cutting out animal products can actually improve your immune system and can improve overall health. And I was like, at that point, I said, I'll do anything to get better. So I said, I'll try it. Let me try that. 6 months later, I felt a lot better. My energy felt better. My skin started clearing up, but my pain in my back was still affecting me. It was still impacting me. And so I was like, I need to figure this out. I have to continue looking for more answers. So what I did was I actually got certified as a nutritionist to find out how to eat the right foods, how to make sure I'm taking care of my body. And I started learning a lot more about gut health and soil health as well. And those were the two big factors that actually led me to Purium, because I was actually searching for a solution for gut health, right? And I was searching for higher quality foods. I was doing the juicing, I was doing all this other stuff, and it was so expensive. It was so time consuming. It was like, didn't taste good. And it was just something that I couldn't maintain. I wasn't able to maintain it. But when Purium came into my lifestyle, I was like, first of all, they were focused on the gut health, which I knew was part of the solution to autoimmune diseases. I knew that was a factor. And the other thing, I knew that the raw was a big factor as well, because of the people that I met in my life to that point that had actually reversed their autoimmune diseases. I learned a few people. There was one person that reversed their Hashimoto's, another person their psoriasis. And I was really amazed. And I was like, a lot of what they spoke about was raw and juicy. And I was like, Purium had that answer. It was the raw and the juice already. And then the other thing was that it tasted so good, and it was so simple, and it was so convenient. I think part of what got me into my disease situation for me personally is the way I was eating. I didn't care how I ate. It didn't really matter. I didn't look at things. I didn't read ingredients. I was like what you call like a standard American diet. You know, that's what I was living. And so because of that, I was so used to the convenience. I was so used to the taste. So I needed something like Purium that had the taste and had the convenience. It took me about a year, to December 2020. I was in Belize, and I said, you know what, I'm going to commit to this fully. I'm going to go all in and make sure that I do everything that I've learned from Purium, everything that I learned in my nutrition, everything that I learned about autoimmune diseases. I'm going to apply it all at once. And December 2020 was the last time I had any symptoms of that, because it's been 4 years since I first even learned about diet and disease. And it took me almost 3 years essentially before I was able to finally reverse my autoimmune disease. And like what Taz said is very important too. Most people do develop an autoimmune disease 5 years later, right, on average. And I'm pretty darn sure if I stayed the course, I was going to develop another one, because I needed to make these changes and I needed them to be drastic and quick. And then once I started to feel the pain, like when I could sleep throughout the night and I didn't have pain waking up, right, it re-inspired me to focus how to heal some of the damage that had been done. Because for my particular one, it causes so much damage in the spine, starting to fuse it together. And so I actually needed to fix that part as well. So that's when yoga came in. And meditation and strength training was very, very key and critical because I needed to stretch my spine. I needed to work on the spine. I needed to repair some of the damage because it started to fuse together in some parts, right? And so that caused, that causes some pain, but it was really more just inability to flex, inability to move, and also caused issues in the gym. The doctors had said that I wasn't going to go to work out again. Said I wasn't going to they said I was going to be on medication for the rest of my life. They said that all these things were going to happen. And so because I was able to say no, and because I think honestly, because I had that fire in me that said, I don't want to be sick. I hated being sick so much that I wasn't going to let it get to other issues. Like I said, no, like I'm not going to let it get to the point where I have another autoimmune disease, where I have another sickness. It was almost like one disease that hit me was enough. I was like, nope, enough is enough. How do I end this one and prevent it for the rest of my life? So now I focus on the prevention. Almost everything that Taz had said about the prevention is very, very critical to what I do on a daily basis. And I think that the gut health part is one of the foundations for almost all autoimmune diseases, because if you fix your gut, what happens is a lot of the stuff they're eating goes out. We have leaky gut for most of us, where the food particles are coming out. It's causing the inflammation, and then it's causing your body to want to fix that issue. It's like, we need to fix this issue, and you cause more inflammation and more inflammation and more inflammation, and it confuses your body. So your body's like, what do I do? How do I fix all this? And it starts attacking different parts of your body. And that's why when like someone like what she just described, or what I just described, we are going to prevent more autoimmune diseases from coming because we fixed the root cause. We didn't put that Band-Aid, so to speak, onto it. And so, yeah, now I share this with everyone that I come across, and I just make sure that everybody has an opportunity to take care of themselves and not rely on others for their health. And I don't believe that we can inject health into our bodies. Our body needs to take care of itself.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Kevin. It's so incredible to know what proper nutrition can do to the body. We just have to allow it to thrive. I keep saying this. If you put your body in the optimal state, it will reward you, right? But you have to know what conditions to put it in. That's it, right? And eliminate things. And how easy is it? Once we start feeling amazing, we want to keep feeling amazing, right? So, Carm, I'll pass it back to you.
And I've been actually really happy that you and I connected in the community, and I'd actually wanted you to meet Mamie too. So isn't it something that we all get to gather here? It's by no coincidence at all, but we were meant to share our stories and inspire other people to also take better care of our bodies. So yes, we're at the close, and thank you all so much for attending our Lunch and Learn today on autoimmunity and nutrition. Please pass this on to friends and family members who you think would benefit from this, and please go back to the person who invited you here, and they will share with you next month as well. We are working on the topic as of now, but please do attend our Fierce Fridays. This coming Friday, it's always at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and we go into topics about health as well, and we would love to grow our community there with you. Please see us on our YouTube as well. Look up the Million Mom Movement, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.